Chapter 21 The Unknowable Room. Harry's suspicions about Malfoy grew stronger by the day. Using the Marauder's map, he had noticed Malfoy's frequent disappearances and was convinced he was using the Room of Requirement. Meanwhile, tension between Ron and Hermione remained high. Ron wanted to end things with Lavender but couldn't figure out how. Harry made several attempts to enter the Room of Requirement but failed, not knowing exactly what Malfoy was using it for. "I need the room where Malfoy is hiding." "Whatever he's hiding," Harry muttered, pacing in front of the wall. But no door appeared. Ron mentioned Crabbe and Goyle's sudden disappearances, and Harry realized they were likely standing guard for Malfoy. In his next lesson with Dumbledore, Harry learned more about Horcruxes. Dumbledore was certain Voldemort had made several, and 2 Riddle's diary, and Marvolo Gaunt's ring had already been destroyed. "Our next task is to locate and destroy the remaining Horcruxes, Harry," Dumbledore said. "And I want you to come with me when we do." Harry's heart raced with anticipation and fear. He was finally getting a real chance to fight against Voldemort. As they discussed potential Horcruxes, Dumbledore shared his theory that Voldemort had used significant magical artifacts to create them, possibly including items belonging to the Hogwarts founders. "But sir," Harry asked, "how will we find them? They could be anywhere." Dumbledore's eyes twinkled. "Ah, Harry, that's where your connection to Voldemort might prove useful. Your ability to see into his mind could lead us to the Horcruxes." As Harry left Dumbledore's office, his mind was whirling with possibilities. The task ahead seemed daunting, but for the first time, he felt like they had a real plan to defeat Voldemort. Chapter 22 After the Burial. The day of Aragog's funeral arrived, casting a somber mood over Hagrid's hut. Harry, Ron, and Hermione made their way down to comfort their giant friend, despite the risks of being out after curfew. As they approached, they saw Professor Slughorn leaving, his pockets bulging suspiciously. The trio found Hagrid redeemed but grateful for their presence. "Means a lot ye came," Hagrid sniffled, pouring them large mugs of wine. As they toasted Aragog's memory, Harry couldn't help but think about the Felix Felicis still hidden in his dormitory. He knew he needed to get Slughorn's memory, but using the potion felt like cheating. Their conversation was interrupted by a loud knock at the door. To everyone's surprise, it was Professor Slughorn, his arms full of bottles. "Thought you might be in need of a pick-me-up, Hagrid," Slughorn said jovially. As the night wore on and the drinks flowed, Harry saw his opportunity. Under the influence of alcohol and sentimentality, Slughorn began reminiscing about Lily Evans, Harry's mother. "She was one of my absolute favorites," Slughorn hiccoughed. "Bright as they come, kind-hearted too." Harry seized the moment. "Professor, I was wondering if you could tell me about the conversation you had with Tom Riddle about Horcruxes." Slughorn's face darkened. "I've told Dumbledore. I don't remember." "Please, sir," Harry pressed. "It's important for defeating Voldemort." The use of the name sobered Slughorn instantly. After a long, tense moment, he nodded. "Very well," he whispered, extracting the memory with his wand. "Use it well, Harry. And I'm sorry." As Harry clutched the vital memory, he felt a mix of triumph and trepidation. What dark secrets would this memory reveal about Voldemort's past? Chapter 23 Horcruxes. The following day, Harry rushed to Dumbledore's office, the vial of Slughorn's memory clutched tightly in his hand. Together, they dove into the Pensieve to witness the crucial conversation between a young Tom Riddle and Professor Slughorn. The memory revealed Riddle's chilling inquiry about creating multiple Horcruxes. objects in which a wizard could hide parts of their soul to achieve a form of immortality. Slughorn's horror at the idea was palpable, but Riddle's casual curiosity was even more disturbing. Back in the present, Dumbledore's face was grave. This confirms our worst fears, Harry. Voldemort has likely created not just one, but multiple Horcruxes. How many, sir? Harry asked, his voice barely above a whisper. 7, I believe, Dumbledore replied. It's a magically powerful number. We've already destroyed 2, the diary and the ring. That leaves 5 more to find and destroy before Voldemort can be truly defeated. The enormity of the task had settled heavily on Harry's shoulders. Dumbledore went on to explain his theories about what the remaining Horcruxes might be. Objects of great significance to Voldemort, possibly including relics of the Hogwarts founders. I believe I have located another, Dumbledore said, his eyes twinkling with excitement and apprehension. And I would like you to accompany me to retrieve it when the time comes. Harry's heart raced at the prospect. This was it, a real chance to strike a blow against Voldemort. As he left Dumbledore's office, his mind whirling with all he had learned, Harry couldn't shake a sense of both determination and dread. The path ahead was dangerous and uncertain, but for the first time they had a clear goal in sight. Chapter 24, Sectum Sempra. As the pressure of exams loomed, Harry found himself increasingly distracted by thoughts of Horcruxes and Malfoy's mysterious activities. His obsession with the Marauder's map grew. Watching Malfoy's dot disappear into the room of requirement night after night. One evening, while consulting the Half-Blood Prince's potions book, Harry stumbled upon a spell he hadn't noticed before, Sectum Sempra, for enemies. Intrigued, he made a mental note of it. The next day, Harry's chance to use the room of requirement finally came. He paced in front of the wall, thinking, I need to see what Malfoy's doing inside. To his amazement, a door appeared. Inside, he found himself in a vast room filled with hidden objects. As he explored, he heard a noise and ducked behind a large cupboard. To his shock, he saw Malfoy, looking pale and stressed, working on what appeared to be a large, ornate cabinet. Before Harry could investigate further, Malfoy sensed his presence. Spells began to fly. In the heat of the moment, Harry, cornered and desperate, shouted, Sectum Sempra. The effect was immediate and horrifying. Malfoy collapsed, blood spurting from deep gashes across his chest and face. Harry, stunned by what he'd done, froze in panic. Moments later, Snape burst in, summoned by Moaning Myrtle's screams. He quickly performed a counter-curse, stemming the flow of blood. As Malfoy was rushed to the hospital wing, Snape turned on Harry, his face a mask of fury. Your book! Bring it to me! Now! Desperate to hide the Half-Blood Prince's book, Harry raced to the Gryffindor common room, borrowing Ron's copy and hiding his own in the room of requirement. The consequences of Harry's actions were severe. He received detention for the rest of the term, missing the crucial Quidditch final. But worse was the guilt that gnawed at him. He had used a spell without knowing its effects, nearly killing Malfoy in the process. As he scrubbed bedpans in the hospital wing under Snape's supervision, Harry couldn't help but wonder who was the Half-Blood Prince, and what other dangerous secrets did his book hold. Chapter 25, The Seer Overheard. The aftermath of the incident with Malfoy left Harry shaken. His use of the Sectum Sempra spell had not only nearly killed a fellow student, but also cost Gryffindor the Quidditch Cup. As Harry was serving detention during the final match, one evening, As Harry made his way to another detention session with Snape, he encountered Professor Trelawney outside the room of requirement. She appeared disoriented and complained about being unceremoniously thrown out of the room. But who would be in there? Harry asked, his suspicions about Malfoy rekindled. Before Trelawney could answer, their conversation was interrupted by Snape's arrival. As Harry followed Snape to his office for detention, his mind raced with the implications of what he'd just learned. During detention, Harry's thoughts were interrupted by a commotion outside. Suddenly, Professor Flitwick burst into the office, shouting about Death Eaters in the castle. Snape told Harry to wait while he investigated. But Harry, sensing something was amiss, followed. To his horror, he found Snape joining the Death Eaters rather than fighting them. As spells flew and chows rained, Harry realized that Malfoy had succeeded in whatever plan he'd been working on all year. Amidst the battle, Harry spotted Ginny dueling a Death Eater. Without thinking, he rushed to her aid, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear for her safety and a newfound realization of his feelings for her. As the fight raged on, a terrible suspicion began to form in Harry's mind. Where was Dumbledore? And why had Snape betrayed them? With a sinking feeling, Harry raced towards the astronomy tower, dreading what he might find there.